Yes, you can. Ready? Hi, welcome to the Radiance Center. As you know, we've been trying this new thing called Conversations with Friends because we wanted you to understand what it's like here at the Radiance Center almost all the time. So we choose a topic and anybody who happens to be here just becomes part of this conversation, and that's how our life is here. So today we're going to talk about loneliness, and I will just open it for anybody to say anything they want. So thank you. Oh, sorry, this is Deborah. This is Tobias. This is Colleen. I'm Spirit. And this is Spar.
Aloha.
Aloha. Okay, we are so ready to talk. Somebody tell us about loneliness.
Well, I've been thinking about it for days.
I know, we've been trying to do this for days.
And there's so many different dimensions for me that contributed to my understanding of loneliness and what I do to myself to make myself lonely, and the kinds of things that I've done that liberate me from the negative effects of loneliness. I don't think that loneliness is a bad thing. As a matter of fact, I think it's an integral part of the human experience, and that there's going to be times when I feel lonely, and I can be okay with that. But when I was younger, I think I contributed to my loneliness tremendously by my fear of being rejected or judged or humiliated. And so I withdrew from a lot of people, kids and anybody who I thought might judge me. But the cost of my fear of abandonment and betrayal and humiliation was I ended up pushing possible connection away, and I made myself lonely by listening to the voice of my fear more than listening to my ability to maybe trust that even if I do get hurt or abandoned or
Rejected,
betrayed, that I'm going to be okay. And, and not to expect people to not betray me or abandon me, because like maybe the 5 or 10 or 15-year-old that I was, I was living in the tension of the fear of judgment and abandonment and betrayal. And so like I was giving myself the emotional and visceral experience of being betrayed all the time, or a lot of the time. And the thing that happened in that, I think, is that I abandoned my own self.
Yes.
As a result of trying to avoid the pain of rejection.
Protecting yourself.
So I was living inside a wall that made me lonely.
And very often people say that the person we're most lonely for is ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to be ourselves. Yeah. Okay.
And that's the other thing about loneliness, as I notice I make myself lonely every time I don't speak my truth.
Yes.
Because I abandon myself.
Yes.
Every time I say yes when it's a no, or choose busyness or what's the right word? Just distraction. That's a
Thank
great
you.
word. Thank
Yeah.
you. Over being kind enough and quiet enough to be my own friend in the midst of this journey that I'm on.
Wow.
And I think that a lot of the damage I've done to my own body, I had cancer, has to do with years and decades of abandoning myself.
Oh, wow. I never heard you say that.
Yeah, so
Wow. Okay.
like there's just anywhere where there was shame or guilt or self-attack, and I wasn't willing to look at that with kindness.
Then you
because-
lowered your life force,
Yeah,
which would make cancer or some kind of
yeah.
illness.
It's like I push away the violence inside myself,
Oh, wow.
and I push it into my body instead of bring it into the light where it can be healed.
You're so good.
So-
I want people to hear more about that, but let's let everybody chime in first. Who has something else to say? Mine is really short, which is that I make a distinction between loneliness versus being alone. And I really like being alone. It's easier, simpler, and I can return to my highest vibration when I'm alone and not listening to other people's stories. And that's great. I like being alone. Loneliness is when I can't remember my own truth. And so I want other people to validate or express their love for me, for all of us, so that I know somebody loves me even if I don't. So that's mine. What else, sweethearts?
Well, sometimes I get lonely by the stories I tell myself.
Oh yeah,
You know.
that's true, yeah.
But then if you go outside into nature, then you don't feel alone anymore.
Are you talking about physical nature, like trees and that kind
Yeah.
of, the ocean and,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's cool.
And the other thing we were bringing up was being alone. I mean, feeling lonely when you're in a room full of people.
Oh yes. That's one of the hardest ones,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Or even being in a relationship and you're feeling lonely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true that my husband died and his nickname was Snow. But there were times when he just wanted to be with me every minute, and that was so cool and so much fun. And then there were times when he didn't want to be around anybody, including me. He just needed to find himself. And so at first in our early marriage, I thought, oh my God, I hate being separated from him. But then I learned that there were two purposes. That when he wanted to be connected, I could use that as practice for learning to love other people, learning to love him, even if I didn't agree or whatever. And when he wanted to be alone, I could use that as practice for being with myself, and that everything was just between me and God. That really helped me to know that both things had a purpose.
Feels like it makes such a difference when I'm in a space of feeling that I have my own back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can count on myself or trust myself.
Yeah.
That it isn't so much a compulsion or a need to have somebody else there
Yes.
to validate me or
Mm-hmm.
but there is also a very human component that we do need each other.
Yeah, we're so social, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to have the validation
Mm-hmm.
of even just saying, oh, this is how my day was,
Uh-huh.
or
Yeah.
how was your day, you know?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And to
So
connect
important.
that way,
Yeah.
but to not feel like I need that in order to feel safe or
Good
to
for
feel
you.
loved.
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
that base can exist within myself
Mm-hmm.
first.
Nice. That's what I most miss about snow, is that at the end of the day, we would just tell about our day. And I love that exchange and that overview from the other person.
Yeah.
And now I'm learning two things. One is I'm learning to just tell myself about my day. And sometimes I take my puppy, who's over there, Mana, and I tell him about my day. And he just sits there and licks my nose while I tell him. And then one is to call up a friend or text somebody and just say, I want to tell you about my day. So yeah. I love how social we humans are, that we're born to need each other.
It feels like so much about balance.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
balance within myself, balance,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that I don't have to run to somebody
Yes.
just because I need to connect,
Uh-huh.
but being kind of choosy about who I connect with.
I thought you said juicy, and that would have worked too.
Yeah, that could work too. Now I'm mashing them together.
Yeah.
Juicy and choosy.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes you can try to tell people about your day or share something, and they don't get it.
And they don't hear
as
you.
Deborah says, that feels even lonelier.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there are times when I just will write a sentence that says, I feel lonely because, and I put that piece of paper on my altar and just hand it over to my soul. And then I say to my soul, get whoever you want to call me or connect to me or play with me or whatever. And then they do. Just the right person. It's really cool. How about you, Tobias? Where are you?
Well, I'm just kind of processing what
Colleen?
Colleen Colleen was saying, and just being in the balance of recognizing that I can be alone with others.
Ooh, nice.
Like
Mm-hmm.
being lonely with others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but
And-
also alone with others.
Well, yeah.
There were times, part of what was so good about my marriage is I could be in the same room with Snow and just feel totally alone. Like I didn't have to explain anything to anybody. We were just there together.
Yeah.
That was cool. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, thanks for
I'm
sharing.
apologizing for you.
That's my favorite part though. When I talk, I like turning it into a conversation.
I know, exactly.
But the balance of being alone with others and being alone with self
Mm-hmm.
and loneliness may be the out of balance of
Yes.
the balance of those.
Oh, good way to say that. Yeah.
I am lonely with others because I'm not clear on something with myself.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And if I go and become centered and whole in my own being and come back
Yeah.
to being social,
Yeah.
then that loneliness is
Mm-hmm.
kind of it's kind of gone because
Yeah.
I'm whole within myself. So
Nice.
I balance between self-love and love from others is where the wholeness
Yeah.
meets. And I think
Nice.
out of balance is
Yes.
the loneliness.
Do you know that when I teach at night, you might notice that often I'll choose one person to speak towards, because I'm assuming that a lot of people won't have any idea what I'm talking about or can't quite get it yet. But I'll choose somebody that I know can get it, so that I stay in my highest vibration. I don't talk down, I don't dilute it. I find somebody who can hear what I'm saying so that I can speak my whole truth. And that really helps. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really special observation, because it's like the person that you are speaking to and the way that they understand it
Mm-hmm.
kind of affects the way it's perceived. maybe.
Yes, exactly. Because I know that for a long time, I didn't want to be all the power of all the love that comes through me, because when I was a kid, that was such a loneliness to let this much love through. I was just wired differently than my family or whatever. And it's only been recently that I am having the courage just to say all the truth I know and not care too much whether or not other people get it. They'll get it when it's time, and otherwise I am loving finally getting to be myself. Yeah.
That feels like an important component of it, like
Yeah.
allowing the transmission of who I am
Yeah.
to come through,
Mm-hmm.
and even if it's not received, hopefully finding someone that can receive it, but
Mhm.
even if it's not, to
Right.
still allow that transmission to come through.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Wow.
beautiful.
So Spar, I want to know how having cancer, because that was really recent, even 2 months ago, Spar couldn't lift his head or do all sorts of things. How did that affect your concept of being lonely or being connected or all of that? Because you're very different. Do you know you're very different?
Yeah, there's evidence.
I mean, you're very different than you were before you had cancer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm also very different, period.
Yeah.
Well, having the cancer really was, it was an initiation into kindness, really, because like I looked at so many different places where I consciously or unconsciously wanted to die, and a lot of the places where I wanted to die had to do with shame and guilt and self-attack and
Yeah.
and judgment that where I hated God for making me different, making me sensitive, making me my coordination didn't kick in
Yeah.
when I was a kid until later than the other kids, because I was growing so fast, and so I judged my own body, my own. Oh, and I couldn't read until 5th grade, so that was.
Oh wow.
I wanted to be like the other kids.
Yeah.
But I don't. Now that I'm 60, I can see that wanting to fit in is totally different than belonging.
Oh wow. Okay, say more.
because wanting to fit in was wanting to change who I am in order to be accepted and loved.
Yeah. Okay.
And welcomed, whereas belonging is, like in this community, I can be as broken, as filled with shame or anger or rage or self-attack, and I'm met with love and acceptance, like, oh wow, you know, I see you just the way you are. And that contributes to the sense of belonging within me. There's breathing room in there, whereas
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
trying to fit in is there's no air in that. It's constricted and defended, and it's like living in a constant state of hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're not faking it, and you find out that we just say, "Oh yeah, you're going through that because you're releasing, and it's all great."
And that's okay in this community, and there's other places where I've learned through the years that it's just not appropriate to be vulnerable with everybody. Or there's different ways of being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Where like their own pain can get triggered.
Good statement. Yes.
By my exposing my own, and if somebody gets uncomfortable with their pain, you know, they can do everything from shut down to attack. And like, it's not my job to change anybody. It's my job to be the space that allows them to be exactly the way they are. And
Thank you. Who else?
Did that answer your question?
Oh, it did great. Thank you. So
that just sparked for me about being vulnerable with myself.
Yeah.
That's important part of it to have that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there's a stage in evolution where there's no longer duality, because when we're young, our survival depends on being the person our parents can recognize and society can recognize and say, oh yeah, I know you. And so when we're young, it's pretty scary to not belong. Whereas when we get older, so let's go into that topic a little bit. As you're older now, is it okay to be different? Is it okay to be lonely? Are you changing that now? I'm gonna cry when I look at you, but okay.
Oh, I was brought up that, I don't know, for some reason, maybe it wasn't brought up like this, but I thought you have to be loved, and somebody else has to love you or approve of you before you can like yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
And I also got energy around other people, you know, and so then the energy's not there, and I'm by myself. And I didn't know that you need both. You know, you need people and you need alone time. And
So how about
like
now?
that. I like that. I totally know I need time to come back to myself.
Oh, nice.
And I guess I knew it when I was younger too, because I'd stay up late at night when nobody was up.
Oh yeah.
Just, it was quiet, and I find myself even now sometimes, even though I live alone, in the evening when I need to do something, the energy is just calm, and so I can do it, whereas you have interruptions during the day, or just I don't know, but
That's so cool. Wow.
I The calmness is is nice sometimes when being alone is there. I am processing something that had happened and in a couple of years ago here, and I'm thinking to myself, the power of being able to hold my center, because I know how to be alone.
Yeah.
And that empowers me to be in my center, in my decision.
Yeah.
And rather than being offset by someone, I can still hold my power in my direction. And when I'm offset by someone, I'm frustrated at this person now because I came out of my balance.
Yeah.
But if I am able to be alone and strong enough in my decision and just do what I decide I'm going to do and not be thrown off balance, then I can just be in love with this person and be strong enough in my decision.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the power of being alone in a group of others.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and it makes a difference too. This is a little off the subject, but
Nothing is off the subject.
but it makes a difference too, whether you're like, if you didn't get invited to everything everybody is invited to, you're lonely. But if you did get invited and you chose not to go, it feels different. I mean, it was a choice instead of you weren't invited.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was just thinking about, I've gone to a lot of art fairs over the last couple of decades, and there are certain segments of the art fair that are designated VIP or VVIP.
What's that mean?
VIP means like you have to prove yourself. VIP, a very important person. And VVIP is like very, very important people. To qualify to go inside this, there's like there are people who judge whether you're worthy of going into this VIP or VVIP place. The VVIP, I think you have to put like $1 million into an account saying you're willing to spend it on art.
Wow.
Which is adorable. Because I love that people have $1 million to spend on art.
Especially being an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it reminds me of like the whole clique thing from high school and elementary school, where there's different cliques where I wasn't really part of the in crowd, and I felt kind of outside of a lot of the different crowds. Even though I played sports, but I kind of played sports and then did my own thing. Yes, there's so many potential opportunities to feel less than and not enough in this world. And I think that it's part of the design of the awakening process that I, as a human being, am going through. To be able to experience what it's like for another person to say I'm not it, and be okay with that.
Wow.
Because I'm not what anybody or everybody else wants. I'm just what I am, and if I need them to be a certain way or to accept me in a certain way before I'm okay with myself, you know, that's just a recipe for massive amounts of suffering. And there's like I don't think it's possible for me not to want to go into the VVIP room. You know, I've been in there and like it's nice. You know, when I'm invited, but when I'm not invited, it's like, hey, you know, there's kind of like this little whiny thing. It's like, or like being attracted to a woman. You know, there's you know, in and around sexuality, there's like a gazillion places within me where there's possible triggers of feeling like I'm not enough, and that I would be judged for the sexual desires or fantasies that I had. You know, like that stuff. Like I keep really private, so that because the fear of rejection or abandonment is so high in and around that. And so yeah, in that there's like so much potential for devastating loneliness.
I have a question. And this goes for everybody, but right now you're talking, so you get to do it. Which is that when you come into a room, you're just mind-blowing. You go up to everybody and you have a pet name for them, and you say, hello, sunshine, and I love this about you, and I love that about you. Did you learn to do that because you were lonely, or do you really mean it now because you really are that grateful? Where are you with that? I know it's
Your secrets
tricky
are out.
question. Yeah. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I want to know.
My answer is, in my early 20s, I started to wake up to the fact that what I give is what I get. And there's no way I can feel lonely if I'm appreciating another human being.
Yes.
There's no way. My self-consciousness, not self-consciousness like conscious of myself, but self-conscious like living in terror of rejection. It doesn't violate me and torment me and torture me when I'm appreciating and like when I get out of myself. Like when I look around, like if I'm really honest, like I can look around and I can see loneliness in almost every human being I look at. And can I look at that with love and compassion and like, oh sweetheart, you too? Like, oh sweetheart. And when I'm able to look from that level of consciousness or kindness, I'm not in my own pain as much.
Lovely. Okay.
So,
I like that. Thank you.
And
it feels genuine.
Yeah. So
it feels like you go to a place where you can see their pain, but also their amazingness.
Yeah. And like it's like there's a kindness that wants them to know that I will be, to the best of my ability, a safe place for them to come out of their loneliness and their pain if they need to or if they want to. And if not, they're going to at least feel that my presence is able to love them in the midst of their pain.
Nice. So we're going to have to stop in a minute because the sun is coming towards the camera, and yesterday or the other day we tried to record and it got too hot and the whole thing stopped. But I do want to ask each of you, when you're lonely, are you good at walking into a room and connecting to people? successful? Do you know how to get the response and the care that you want and need and would love? We're going to Colleen first.
Yeah, I could tell you were directing that at me.
Yeah,
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
I'm acknowledging that I am feeling so much more grounded in my own magnificence.
Nice.
That
Yes. Good.
I have something to share and it's valuable. So I'm getting better at remembering that when I go into a party or whatever. Yeah.
I know for sure that when you come to class, you're just better and better at giving deep wisdom and support and falling in love with people, and I love that. I don't know if you can do that everywhere else yet, but I'm loving watching you shift that.
I'm just happy to go in and like be friendly and
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, good.
be like Spar and give people compliments and
Yeah.
spread love.
Okay.
So that's, for me, that's a great place to
Thank
know.
you.
And yeah.
So the question was again.
I don't care.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to respond to receiving love from a place from another person, and just being able to come into such the utmost, most vulnerable space in my being, and just experiencing that with the other person is a great experience.
And you're getting better and better at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing down.
And I'm
walls.
watching you sometimes, like we talked about this morning. You'll come into a room with an assumption, and then you'll change your assumption, and then be able to connect to people in ways that you wouldn't have before you became aware of that. That's really cool. Yeah. How about you, Deborah?
Yeah, I'm getting better. A little bit anyway. When I'm lonely, connecting with somebody.
Yeah.
But still find, if I'm telling myself stories, it doesn't work as well.
Well, sometimes she'll write me a text and say, I'm feeling lonely or sad or whatever. But then you will allow me to text you back and say, oh, but how amazing you are, etc. And you're actually starting to let that in more and more. Yeah. Or I'll say, should we just go to dinner? Because sometimes if you change the location, the mood changes.
Yeah, it does work. You're very good at doing that. You
Yeah.
just, you feel cared about, and so it all goes away.
Yeah. And maybe we'll close by saying that I have a friend that I do what's called the 7-minute rule with her. And she'll call me up and she'll be telling me how awful life is and that, you know, she can't think of a single good thing. And I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. I'll just sit there and just listen and say, And then at about 7 minutes every time, she's adjusted to me loving her, and she'll say, Spirit, I can't remember what the problem was. I can't remember if I was upset about anything. So if we let people adjust to our joy, we won't be lonely.
That's beautiful.
I think we did it. You guys were so good.
Can
Thank
I
you.
add one
Oh,
other thing
please
that's
do.
been on my mind for the last few days is like one of the things that I've had to learn is about independence, dependence, and interdependence. And dependence, neediness, is it's extremely vulnerable.
Yes.
And I've had many heartbreaks that have happened as a result of allowing myself to need another human being for my well-being.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
and so as a defense against those heartbreaks, I built walls and defenses and created an independent fake self.
Oh, wow.
You know, like the
I have one of those.
yeah.
We
So-
should introduce them.
So this independent fake self runs around and pretends I don't need anything. You know, and actually, like, if there's any sense that I might need somebody, I will withdraw from them in order to avoid any intimacy with my own sense of vulnerability and neediness. Because
Yeah.
neediness is my least favorite feeling, I think. I mean, anger and rage is easy compared to
The
neediness.
dog comes to you.
Yeah. So I think that part of the waking up in the midst of learning about loneliness really has to do with getting an understanding of neediness, dependence, and the defense against it, which is the independence. And then the third level, which Mark Nepo says, God makes us just vulnerable enough so we need each other.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
You know, so the whole story that I can do it by myself is pure excrement. But it seems safe, but it's dead. There's no connection.
Yeah.
Because there's no intimacy.
Wow.
No man is an island.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
so the interdependence is what happens when I'm okay with my neediness.
Yes. Good.
I'm conscious of where I'm wanting to withdraw in avoidance of the fear of loss and old pain. So I'm still willing to go into that, and I'm willing to be vulnerable enough to receive.
Lovely.
Because receiving comes with it, especially where I came from, it comes with responsibility. And that can feel like indebtedness to the part of me that believes, like, oh, if somebody gives to me, then I owe them, and they get a piece of my soul, versus, oh my God, like, somebody's giving to me, I can open up and allow that to change me and touch me and be with it intimately as it is, rather than turning it into some weight that I now have to carry.
Nice.
So yeah, I think there's a direct correlation between how much loneliness I'm feeling and how stuck I am in either dependence or independence. And so I think that's a
beautiful. Thank you.
important piece.
It is. So I want to say to any of you, besides deepest thank you, is there some new thought that you got today, new understanding by doing this with each other? Okay.
Yeah, no, literally, like, the fake identity that he was talking about is really close to, like, who I've pretended to be to survive for a long time.
Okay, great.
And the quote that he said, that we're fragile enough just to need each other.
God made us vulnerable enough that we need each other.
Yeah.
That's really special for me to recognize that I get to need someone.
Yes.
Rather than I need to, like, getting out of this, I push people away because I'm too scared to be dependent.
Yes.
So thanks for allowing me to need love.
That's great.
And it wasn't acceptable to be dependent, you know?
Yeah, there's so much stigmatism around neediness in our culture. Like,
Codependence
oh
and
my
all
God.
those labels,
So,
which can be true, but Yeah.
But to judge it just creates more
Exactly.
distance and more violence within the relationship or within myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, judging anything within ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Creates more separation. Yeah.
And I do need love. I do need to be touched. I do need to be known.
Yeah.
I do need to have
Yeah.
like intimacy where like where I'm accepted just the way I am with kindness and affection. And if I don't have that, something inside me dying. You know? Like, even sex is like it's something that my human body needs. You know, to be touched like that. And I can go without it for a while, but I think it's part of that independence thing. Like,
So we don't want to end with making people wrong if they are not being sexual with other people. There are different lessons that we learn different ways.
absolutely.
At different times.
At different times, yes.
Yeah.
But to want something and need something is not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think understanding our needs and making it okay to have them,
Yes.
that, and being able to bring empathy to our unmet needs
Yes.
is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
And that the need can somehow then be met in all different kinds of ways.
Yes.
Rather than it being what I think it is, it should be.
Yes.
You know, just acknowledging and holding the need as sacred.
And Goddess must have known what she was doing when she created us to need touch and need love. And,
Yes.
you know, that's not a mistake.
And it's okay to need it.
Right.
Not only is it okay, it's normal. I mean, that's
How we're
we're
wired.
designed.
Yeah. Wow. Anybody else learn anything or understand anything today that you didn't before?
I just think balance, that seems to stick with me today. Having the balance.
Yeah.
Between being with and being with myself and with others. That's kind of like what Spar was talking about too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be making a list of people so that I will send out to each of you. We're going to meet on such and such a time, on Friday or whatever, and this time we're going to be discussing whatever, and then you can just show up if you want to, because it's such a gift to have all of you. And then we also, I'm loving that I'll just be having dinner with a group of people, and all of a sudden I'll realize that the discussion we're having is really important, and that it's a discussion most people in the world would wish to have. And so sometimes I'll send you one that says, we're going to be recording in 20 minutes. You can show up if you want to. Thank you all so much. Yeah, I love that we do this. You want to push the button?
I can do.
Is it low battery?